everyone to our September Lunch and Learn. I'm Amanda Lakin. I'm the Communications and Marketing Director for the Coalition. And I just have as usual, a couple of announcements and reminders for all of you. So as usual, we are going to be recording this session. So we will be providing a link to the recording and any slides sometime before the end of the week for all of you who are registered. And this is actually our last scheduled Lunch and Learn of the year. Very proud. We have gone through 9 consecutive months of Lunch and Learns. We will likely do 1 or 2 more before the end of the year. So once we get those planned and scheduled, we'll send out a registration link to all of you. And I'm sure most of you are aware, because we've been talking about it for a long time, but we do have our Lunch and Learn coming up. I'm going to share with you a little slide here. So just a reminder, our conference is coming up in exactly 2 weeks on October 11th and 12th at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. For those of you who have not attended before, this is going to be a 2-day event. We have 2 plenary sessions, we have 12 breakouts, a couple guest speakers, some great networking, and just an overall fun time for all of you. So you can see the current pricing here. I think you can all see it on my screen. And registration closes next Friday, October 10th. So if you are thinking of attending, we would highly encourage you to register before Friday, October 6th. And tomorrow morning, keep an eye out. We are going to be sharing an updated agenda that will show all of our amazing speakers and moderators for the 2-day event. And speaking of speakers, we are super excited to announce for the first time 2 of these gentlemen, but we have our keynote speaker is going to be John Ponder. He is the CEO and founder of Hope for Prisoners. So he is going to be kicking off our morning session on day 1. Treasurer Zach Conine is going to be our guest speaker during lunch on day 2. And John Ralston from the Nevada Independent is going to be closing our session. He will be moderating the closing plenary on day 2. So super excited about this. And for those who are attending, I just want to encourage all of you to plan to attend our reception. This will be from 4:30 to 6 p.m. on day 1. We're very excited about this. We'll have some great snacks, a cash bar, possibly some surprise entertainment, so bring your cameras. And we also have some really amazing prizes that have been donated from community partners. So excited to share some more information about that as well. So please sign up. If you have any questions, please contact me. And I'm actually going to turn it over to my colleague, Joanna. And Joanna, you're in with mute.
Man, I am having some real technology problems today. Hello, everybody. My name is Joanna Grant. I am Director of Education and Outreach, and I'm really excited. Looking forward to seeing all of you in person in a couple of weeks at the conference. For those of you who know me, and for those of you who don't, I also coordinate a statewide capacity building program called Elevate Nevada. And we have some very special Elevate Nevada designated breakout sessions at the conference that I'm really excited to share with you. We're going to be talking about developing and managing supportive housing, doing some mission-driven property management, making projects targeting extremely low-income populations pencil and operating once you do, including the tension kind of between property management and housing first case management. This panel is going to be featuring some expert advice from supportive housing developers, CRDC, partners, ASI, and Native American Native American Connections, and I'll be there as well. So make sure you stop by that one. We also have a session on navigating housing after incarceration that I'm really excited about. This will be a new topic for the Elevate Nevada programming and for the Coalition, I believe, as well. So this session is going to talk about the importance of affordable housing options that serve individuals who've been impacted by the justice system, innovative models, best practices, and moderated by Katrina Grigsby Fedford from Nevada Homeless Alliance, and featuring some local subject matter experts from the VA and Anthem and Three Keys communities. Really, that's going to be an amazing panel. We also have one on accelerating equity and diversity in the affordable housing field. So a lot of times we talk about equity and diversity for the beneficiaries of affordable housing, the people that we want to get into housing. But what about professionals entering the affordable and supportive housing industry itself. So this panel is going to be amazing, featuring moderated by our very own Brooke Page, NHC board member and CSH director, and also going to feature some programs across the affordable housing spectrum that seek to advance equity and diversity within the sector itself. And finally, we're going to have a really amazing panel on data and outcomes, data and housing. We're going to hear about how Nevada currently collects housing data. We're going to talk about some emerging models that help us understand how housing inventory and affordability operate, and also learn how to interpret data and use that effectively for housing advocacy. This is going to be moderated by Nevada Housing Division's newest economist, Jeremy Hayes, and we'll hear from a variety of local data and housing experts exploring this topic. So don't forget to join us also on day one for the graduation of our first ever Elevate Nevada mentorship program participants. We have a really exciting special guest in the works to open that, and then we'll be celebrating their commitment over the past year to that program and professional development, building up our next generation of affordable housing development leaders. So be sure and connect with me at the conference if you have any capacity building goals for your own organization. I'm really excited to see you all, and I'm really excited about the topic today on manufactured housing. So I'll pass it over to my teammate, Amanda Vaskov, who's going to talk about some policy panels at the conference before we get started with our discussion.
Hello, Amanda Voskov, Government Affairs and Policy Manager for the Coalition. And for all of you who are policy oriented or interested, we have a lot of policy packed into the conference. For our opening plenary session, we'll have a discussion on federal housing policy, and it'll be an opportunity for us to really get into the weeds about what's going on in the Hill and what sort of discussions are being had around housing, as well as notable events in recent history, such as the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act and the introduction of the Affordable Housing Tax Credit Improvement Act. In the next day, on October 12th, we'll have a star lineup of a ton of agencies that are coming to give updates. The Nevada Housing Division, as well as the Governor's Office of Economic Development, will be providing updates on housing programs. And then we will also hear from several of our local jurisdictions who will spotlight an affordable housing project in their jurisdiction. So we want to thank everyone who's participating in our conference for your partnership, and we hope to see you there. All right. So that concludes the conference plug that we, of course, have to get given this Lunch and Learn. But we're going to start getting into the content now. I'm going to pass it off to Michael, who's going to introduce himself and kick off our discussion on manufactured housing. Michael.
Thank you, Amanda. Yeah, first and foremost, thank you so much, Joanna and Amanda, for inviting myself and Clayton Homes to this discussion today. You know, this was something that we've been thinking about, and I actually met Joanna a couple of months ago at a presentation downtown Reno, which is mainly tribal centric. We were talking about affordable housing for the local tribal areas, which is something that Clayton Home participates in very highly. And so I attended, gave a presentation there, and then we kind of thought, Joanna and I, this might be something that we can do going forward. So we had a meeting with myself and my general manager and yourself and Joanna, and found that we've got a lot of common threads. The main thing being affordable housing. I mean, that is why we are in existence, is to be able to support affordable housing for the folks that can afford, you know, a $500,000 or $600,000 house. So thank you again. I think this is going to be a great ongoing relationship, and look forward to it. So I'm going to share my screen here. So a lot of folks don't know that Clayton is America's largest home builder. We are nationwide, and we service, you know, over 400 home centers, own 40-some different factories, and support the affordable housing project across the United States. So one thing that I'd like to start today, because we're here to talk about manufactured housing, and to kind of level set everybody on what a manufactured house is. And for some of you, I mean, you probably already know, and some of you, this may be a good education. So if you close your eyes, this is mobile home parks. Maybe some of you had relatives that lived in manufactured housing, or these are mobile homes. growing up. And you'll panel walls, you know, if you even had any kind of ruckus inside your house, you were going to destroy it because it wasn't very well put together. But this is what you're mostly when you think about manufactured housing, when indeed these are what they call mobile homes. So what is a manufactured home? Is it really just a fancy name for a mobile home? No. So prior to 1976, everything factory built was considered a mobile home. Not a lot of specs were involved. It was truly mobile. You could pick it up, move it to any place you wanted to go. After June 15th, 1976, the federal government, namely HUD, got involved and created the manufactured home. It's really they're built to a set of specifications set forth by the government CFR 24. I won't bore you with details on that. Basically, all the factories are given these HUD requirements. There's different zones for wind, seismic, roof, snow load, all that stuff, and they're all built to regional specs. And all this is adhered to in the factory where they're built. So if you saw the old mobile homes, these are what they can look like today. I mean, imagine, because everybody that comes into the home center where we are in Carson City says, you know, I want a mobile home, but I don't want it to look like a mobile home. Because basically these are nothing more than rectangles that you have to somewhat, you know, gussy up a little bit. As you can see, there's additional dormers that can be put on, houses with front porches, and they've really got some really nice new radical designs that don't look anything like the old mobile home or a manufactured home. So you might have heard as well that there's other types of factory built homes. And yes, indeed there are. IRC modular is the code above a manufactured home, built to the International Residential Code, same as a site built home. Still comes in two sections. It's got to be completed on site. Now, this was born, the reason for having modular homes are, in this state, it is against policy to discriminate against manufactured housing. There are two exceptions to that: homeowners associations and CC&Rs that say, well, we don't want a mobile home, we don't want a manufactured home, oh, but we'll take an IRC modular. And it's really just ignorance. They don't know any better. They don't know it has to be put together on site and pretty much built like the other one is. And we do this for a couple of different reasons, again, to get around HOAs and CC&Rs. But in order to lend on a manufactured home, especially if you're doing an FHA loan, you need competitive sales in the area. And in some areas, there aren't manufactured homes readily available. So you have to look for comps in the area. Well, if you have a modular home, an IRC modular home can be comped against a site-built home. So that takes care of the problem there. You get your competitive sales. The other things that we're hearing a lot more of are something called a cross mod. Working with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Again, we're looking for the ability in certain areas to be able to get those competitive sales comps. With a cross mod, which is, there's a certain set of specifications that need to be adhered to: 4 and 12 roof pitch, garage, inset porch, sidewalk. Now these homes can be comped against their site-built homes. Now, certainly because these are so new, there's a lot of education that needs to happen, both in the real estate market and in the lending market. So that lenders automatically know when they see a cross mod that this can be comped against a site-built home. So I wanted to just talk quickly a few minutes because the goal of this is to be able to create real property. Most of the land home packages that we have, the folks get the land, they get the home, and they want to put it on a foundation and create real property so that they can get financing. And this is really the first component in creating real property, is affixing personal property, which the manufactured home is, to Mother Earth. And that's done in various types of ways. 8-point, that's typically what you're going to see, what we call a soft set. That will be inside of a park. Just runners and a skirt around it, like you see in most mobile home parks around here. You don't have real property there because you don't own the land, but it is affixed to, structure and steadied and leveled. The other one is 8-point with runners. The 8-point with runners, we usually use this in an area like Silver Springs where it's really sandy, because you don't want the unit to settle. So we put 3 concrete runners in. We basically do the same thing as the soft set, except now it's on concrete runners. We still put a skirt around it, and we secure it on the corners with what they call an XI2 strap. Now these straps anchor the railings underneath or the cross beams and go into a bolt into concrete. So henceforth, the first component of creating real property. The rest is just done in title. The last one is a full perimeter stem wall. This is probably the most common foundation that we put in the state of Nevada. It is the most priciest because it does involve a lot of concrete, rebar and such as that. But basically what you're doing is you're excavating down approximately 32 inches, putting in those concrete runners, the same ones you would in an 8-point with runners. And then you're building up 6-inch pony walls all around the perimeter of the foundation. The house will actually sit on the mud sill or the outside wall of the structure, and then again it'll be cinched down with XI2 straps. This also creates a relatively easy access underneath the manufactured home, because that's where most of the plumbing and sewer and stuff and connections are. You probably get about an 18 to 20 inch crawl space. Although I don't like, it's not a pleasure to go underneath those. You got to be a little bit skinny. Okay, so we're going to talk now about a game changer that Clayton Homes just came out with at the 1st of July. Kevin Clayton has been wanting to do this for a very long time. And Clayton Homes have always been built what we call energy smart. And that means we've got lots of different devices and mechanisms to be able to keep, the efficiency up to the highest it possibly can. This is the next generation right here. So what you're looking at is all the components that have been put into the homes now. Just for instance, argon-filled windows. 2x6 exterior walls used to be an upgrade for most customers. It's now standard. In addition to that, before applying, we put a thermoply structural sheathing around the house. So what you're creating is one of the tightest, spaces, and we put the fiberglass in. There's nothing getting through that. Energy Star appliances. This is probably the most notable. The Ream hybrid heat exchange water heater. They are using this device because it uses less energy than a 100-watt incandescent bulb. We're also now using carrier heat pump for the AC that we can put on the back end of this, because it is vented and forced air heat. All of these changes that we've done, and this is probably close to $10,000 worth of upgrades in our factories, are at no cost to the customer. Because we are getting energy rebates from the Department of Energy, we don't feel like we need to pass that on to the customer. But you're looking right now at the most energy efficient home in the United States today. That's not site built, that's Clayton manufactured homes. Again, just to reiterate, and I circled it there, Department of Energy's highest efficiency specification. And this has been a long time coming. And, it was kind of brought upon us, and we were like, we're ready now. And yes, we're ready now. Anything built after 1 July is energy smart. So just looking at some additional things that I think we've already talked about, sealed duct system. Whole house fans. I mean, those things are great in the summertime. I remember using those, at the evening, you turn off your air conditioner, open the windows, and let this whole house fan just kind of suck in the nice cool air, and you don't need your AC at night. Insulated exterior doors, Energy Star certified bathroom fans. Every component is it's all additive to give you that up to 40 to 50% energy savings every year. If you look at this, it kind of gets some estimated annual savings that consumers are going to be able to realize, with the new Energy Smart Zero homes. Well, that's all I had. I'll pass it back to Amanda. Amanda, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm gonna, again, the technological difficulties are a recurring theme today, huh? Thanks so much for passing it off to me. I'm going to pass it off to Susan Fisher from McDonald Carano. She's going to get into a little bit about the recent policy conversations around manufactured housing and the barriers or incentives that may or may not exist for this in the state.
Thank you, Amanda. So I'm Susan Fisher. I'm Senior Vice President of Government Affairs with the law firm of McDonald Carano here in Nevada. I'm based in Northern Nevada, and I've been lobbying actually the contract lobbyist for Nevada Housing Association, which is the association for manufactured home dealers and related vendors throughout the state. Been lobbying for them for, I think, over 15 years, something like that. So anyway, this last legislative session, we had a bill, Senate Bill 40, that Senator Dallas Harris helped us tremendously with. And we worked with the state, also the Department of Manufactured Housing, Division of Manufactured Housing under the Department of Business and Industry, because they had a bill that they were working on, sort of a cleanup bill to make the contracts easier and filing papers, having dealers file papers, just cleaning it up a little bit to make it a little bit better business practices. So we worked with them to lower the size limitation. We had been for many years, prohibited from having any manufactured homes brought into the state that were less than 1,200 square feet. Yet the session before last, in 2019, there was a bill that was passed by Senator Dallas Harris to require local governments to establish zones where they could have tiny homes. Well, that would prohibit the use of manufactured homes in those zones that they established where they would allow tiny homes. Now, you could have a modular home. As Michael pointed out, we've had discriminatory legislation because you could have a modular home much smaller, but not a manufactured home. It was specifically in statute. That had been driven by the realtors because there had been local governments can no longer prohibit a manufactured home from going into a neighborhood unless there are CC&Rs that prohibit it, but going into any neighborhood, as long as the siding and the roof line and things like that match other homes in the near vicinity or close to them anyway. But they still had to be at least 1,200 square feet. So we did pass a bill last legislative session. It actually, 40 was the one from the 2019 session that established the tiny home zones. But this last session, we passed a bill that would allow for manufactured homes from 400 square feet. So that means if you wanted to have a much smaller one, now most of them are 1,000 square feet. What is Michael, what is a single wide typically? Oh, you're muted. There you go.
Yes. Well, typically a single wide, I mean, it varies. We can go anywhere from like 720 square feet.
Yeah. That's what I thought. So, but you wouldn't have been able to use those here in Nevada now in most, in any communities really, in any, like a city or a town. So we eliminated that barrier. we do have other barriers also. We have local fire marshals who are wanting to require sprinklers in manufactured homes, but not site-built homes, only manufactured homes. So that's discriminatory. And when you look, we say, well, have you had fires? If they have, it's been in a much, much older manufactured home, and it's typically somebody smoking in bed or something like that. It's not something that's the home's fault necessarily. So that's something that we've been working diligently on. We've been able to get those repealed. The state fire marshal is not pushing this. It is being pushed by local fire marshals here and there throughout the state, typically in some of the more rural counties also. We've also had local governmental entities, rural counties, who have decided that they want to say that if you have a manufactured home, you must have a poured in place foundation and a minimum 2-car garage with a poured floor and poured in place foundation as well. So that, but they weren't going to require it of site-built homes. So that's discriminatory also. We were able to get that ordinance killed. We also have ADU restrictions. If you want to put an accessory dwelling unit in your backyard or on your property, and there's room for it, and it's allowed by your CC&Rs or whatever, if you have a site-built home, you can put in a modular, but not a manufactured ADU. However, in some communities now they're saying we were able to get them to at least open it up. If you have a manufactured home already on the property, then you can put in a manufactured ADU. So that's something that we're always looking at to make sure that they're not going to discriminate against the manufactured homes. Because as Michael pointed out, they're not your granddaddy's trailer houses anymore. They're beautiful structures, very energy efficient. We also face problems with travel restrictions when it's nice weather and here in Northern Nevada and no snow is flying and we've got the funding to work on roads. We have a lot of road restrictions for units that are over 14 feet wide. Well, almost any manufactured home is 14 feet wide. And so NDOT will give us 1 day notice before the highway is going to have these travel restrictions, and we'll have to reroute the manufactured homes. The problem with this is that it can add $7,000 to $8,000 to $9,000 or more, depending on how many units you have. If you've got a double wide or a triple wide, and many manufactured homes are now double and triple wide, that can add $15,000, $20,000, $24,000 to the cost of your home. Well, when you order your manufactured home, that's when you put your financing in place. So now all of a sudden, I hear sometimes a year later when the home is being delivered, now you're faced with an increase in your cost that is not rolled into the mortgage. So we've been working closely with NDOT to try to get them to give us more notice, to give us a window of opportunity where we can have trucks lined up to zip through if we need to. So those are some of the challenges that we face. And I think I probably maxed out my time, right, Amanda?
That is correct. It's just about time for a bit of audience Q&A. So at this time, if any audience members have questions, it looks like the chat's been firing off with a couple that seem to have been answered. So if anyone else has questions, now's your time to ask.
Amanda, there's a question in the Q&A box.
Oh, let's check it. So first question, what were you prohibited from bringing manufactured homes to Southern Nevada? Can you repeat the size of the home?
Well, it used to be 4 square feet, and now with SB 40 passing, we are allowed to have a home that is 400 square feet or larger.
Yep.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, seems to be answered. Cool. Let's see. It says, what is the bill number that passed this session?
I think it was SB 58, but I'm going to have to double check on that and get back to you. Once I'm past session, I wipe things out of my brain, but I'll find that bill number for you and get it to you get it to you, Amanda, so you can send it out to the others.
Yes, I'll be sure to give that to you, Sylvia. We also have another question. Does NDOT change for delivery?
I think you mean charge for delivery?
Charge, yes.
No, NDOT does not charge us anything for delivery. What we have had to do is when we can't get NDOT to help us with the contractor, I'll go directly to the contractor working on the roads, and sometimes they will charge us to give us a window of opportunity, but they don't charge us. You know, we're paying the transporters are paying gas taxes, diesel taxes, fuel taxes, just like anybody else traveling on the road, unless you're driving an electric vehicle, and then you're not contributing. So NDOT does not charge.
They just restrict.
They just restrict, correct, yeah. But we do have a new director of NDOT who is very, very responsive and is committed to helping keep the lines of communication open for us. So I'm very pleased with this new change and new leadership there.
All right, next question. We have in the Q&A box, California law prohibits HOAs from excluding ADUs and also requires local jurisdictions to allow ADUs. Can we move forward on this?
California, that was the case, that they're adopting ADUs very rapidly. But yeah, being in Nevada, we have to succumb to the local counties and their restrictions.
Yes, and there was a bill passed this last session relating to ADUs, where if an HOA prohibits it, that's one. HOAs can still prohibit them, but local governmental entities cannot, as long as there's enough space on the parcel and it fits all of the setback requirements and everything.
I want to add as well too, even though with SB 40, and thank you, somebody chimed in with that bill, even with it passing, this is still have to trickle down into the individual counties. They have to adopt what used to be Title 15 for like Lyon County. They're now going in and modifying that to adopt this new rule. So it's going to take time, but it was definitely a significant legislation.
All right, moving on to the next question. How long does it take to build a manufactured home from scratch?
Well, that's a great question, because Susan has said maybe a year later. And hey, during COVID, it used to be that way. Our own factories were a year, sometimes a year and a half out. During COVID, we learned a lot, and the demand was so high, we really needed to reorganize things, get material shortage underhand, and streamline everything. I mean, right now, I can only speak for our home center. We pull from probably 4 or 5 factories. We could have a home out of any of those factories probably within 3 to 4 months.
Oh, that's a lot. That's picked back up again. That's wonderful. Yeah.
And to actually build in a manufactured home from start to finish, maybe 3 days.
Something else that I want to mention about the manufacturing of these homes, they are very efficient materials wise. When they complete a manufactured home, the waste that is left over doesn't even fill up a 30-gallon trash can. It is such very small waste because they've gotten very efficient about the way that they cut out the materials and all that. They fit it all in like puzzles, and it's much, much more efficient than site-built homes. And I'm not bashing site-built homes because our firm represents the home builders as well. So there's room for all of them.
I think that was
Somebody asked about the division of manufactured housing, if they're working more efficiently to help with the transfer and or conversion of either new or existing manufactured homes in a sale transaction. I'm not sure what you mean there.
It has to do with titling.
Oh, with the title. They did the SB 40 that passed last session did address it it was doing some efficiencies with regard to certificate of ownership and certificate of title. So they are trying to make it a little bit more efficient, which is great, but there's still a lot of work to be done there.
There's another question in the chat that I think might be interesting to elaborate on. What are the differences between manufactured and modular homes?
That's a good question too. So manufactured homes now are, as Michael mentioned, built to HUD standards but also regional standards. And modular homes are built to individual local governmental standards. Did I phrase that correctly, Michael? And modular homes tend to cost a little bit more, I believe, than manufactured homes because we already have the regional specs in place, and every local government has all their own ones that change regularly.
Exactly. I mean, you're going to pay on an average of 10 to 20% more for a home that's engineered to IRC standards. Excuse me. And then in setting the home, we actually only have one factory that can supply modular homes right now, and they do what they call an off-frame modular, which means they remove the frame and set wood on wood and a foundation. You need a crane to do that. So in the past, I mean, it was very prevalent to be able to move to a modular home. I think going forward, there's not much case to do so unless you're absolutely set on it, and you have to build somewhere where they preclude manufacturing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like in the chat we had someone ask kind of a golden question for us over at the Housing Coalition, which is what are their price ranges?
Michael?
Oh, I get that one, huh? Okay. So I mean, we have a line of very affordable homes now that we just got access to out of Texas. So, I mean, I'm gonna talk standard, let's say a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, double wide. You're basically looking at about 110,000, and it can go up to 250 depending on the amenities. Because as site-built homes, you're gonna have the opportunity to decor. You know, put granite countertops in, hardwood flooring. These are just like site-built homes in that respect. You can gussy them up. It just depends on your budget.
And there's a question also about, 2 questions, workforce housing and multifamily options. The quick answer on multifamily, absolutely. We have one project that was done a number of years ago in Martis Creek, close to Truckee, California, that are apartments. They're 2-story, and they were built primarily for workforce housing for workers at Martis Creek Golf Course and the homeowners association there. And as far as collaborations between industry or government and manufactured home companies, we actually have a couple of tiny villages in Reno, Nevada area. There's one that an organization worked with. They found a bunch of sort of trailers, small trailers or manufactured homes, modular unit. I don't know if these are manufactured or modular units. I believe they're probably modular units that had been used on work on the pipeline in Wyoming in a man camp that they had there, or person camp, I guess, let's be correct. And the project had been shut down, and these units were just sitting there. So an organization here in Northern Nevada went and got all of these units, bought them for pennies on the dollar, brought them here, got a chunk of land donated by the city of Reno, and they put them all in these, and they're sort of like dormitories where they'll have a couple of units, a couple of rooms in each unit. It's basically a bed and a desk and chair, and very small for small amenities. And then they'll have communal bathroom, communal kitchen, communal work areas, and they're very high security as well. They have it's all gated so that these people are safe when they're there. It's in a part of town that is a high risk part of town, but it is housing to help get people off the street and back on their feet. And they provide counseling services and all. as well with that. So, and that's one where the city donated the land to help put in this project, and then some funds as well to, restore these units and all. So it's been a very, very successful project. They've graduated people from these homes. They have no alcohol, no drug rules, very strict rules. And then there's another organization here in Reno area called Northern Nevada Hopes, and it's a clinic, healthcare clinic with wraparound services, and it is also, they provide services to help get people off the street, to break the homeless cycle. And they have built a tiny village as well. It's called Hope Springs, and they have a number of little tiny homes, cottages, and they're each separate. They have a communal garden, and again, communal living room, communal kitchen and bathrooms, and everyone has to work to help maintain the grounds. There are very strict rules to help get them in the mode of taking care of what you've got and taking care of yourself. They have counseling, and people have graduated from that program and actually purchased homes. They've been able to get jobs and stay in jobs and actually purchase homes. So yes, the answer to that is yes, but we need more.
All right, and we're almost coming up on our time, so I'm going to ask a final question before we wrap up. I'll ask one to you, Michael, then one to Susan. Michael, if you were to describe manufactured housing in one sentence, what would that sentence be?
Affordable. Basically, it's affordable, and that's why we do what we do, is to help support the affordable housing. And Susan's right. I mean, every one of you guys have crossed or driven by Highway 50 and seen the Clayton Homes site. I encourage you to come in and take a tour of the homes. I mean, you will be blown away, because like Susan said, this isn't your grandpa's mobile home.
Is that a ditto from you, Susan?
Absolutely a ditto. These are very, very cost-effective, efficient homes, efficient to live in and efficient to build. And I think that if we're looking at creating more manufactured or more affordable communities, we ought to look at doing a development in all manufactured homes. And there was a question about the Boxable company. Yes, they are releasing product to the public. In fact, Elon Musk owns one, has it on his property in Texas.
All right. And with that, I just want to thank Michael and Susan for participating today. They really stepped up to participate in this Lunch and Learn ahead of our busy conference. And again, please register before October 6th. And if you're planning to attend the conference, we're excited to see you there. Thanks for joining our Lunch and Learn today.